And we're back. Welcome back.
Good to see you.
Good to see you as well.
I'm not seeing you in Arizona, though.
Nope, we're not.
Where
We are in my hometown, Southern California, Orange County.
Yes.
Good to be home.
Yes. It's nice to be here. The
Yeah.
weather's beautiful.
I was gonna say, do you already feel the difference as soon as you
Oh, yeah.
drove in? Totally different.
Yeah. Driving across the desert, though, I'm like, where the heck are we going?
Yeah, exactly.
Super hot.
It's super hot. But then you're like, probably, have you checked the weather back home? Is it, you
No.
know, okay.
I don't
So we're
wanna
like
know.
in their 70s, maybe 80s today.
Oh, we're in the 110s, I'm
Yeah.
sure.
So you got to come. You got to come visit us more
Yeah.
often.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah,
Excited to be
exactly.
here.
Well, hopefully we've already talked about upcoming schedules. Like I was in Arizona last month. You're here this month. We already set schedule for next month. I'll be back in Arizona.
Yep.
Hopefully we can just keep this moving along. Different cities. Like I said, the road tour.
Yeah.
This would be cool. We're on the Rush tour.
Rock and roll tour.
Rock and roll tour, which would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
so today we wanted to chat with all of you guys a little bit about some new topics. I don't know about you, Cyndee, but I'm really liking this conversational, just organic, just talking, I
Yeah.
guess. The last time we were in Arizona, it just felt so good, so organic, just to learn about you, learn about the Fabio boyfriend that you met with you mentioned his long wavy hair and, all the great stories. And we learned a lot about you.
Yeah.
We learned a lot about me.
Yeah.
And
Your drumming obsession.
my drumming obsession. We were just talking about that offline. How, I love drummers from Neil Peart, Mike Portnoy, and it's just fun to learn new things about each
Yep.
other. So, and I'm glad we get to ultimately share that with all of you
Yes.
out there.
We want to.
And we want to, exactly. So this is a lot of fun. But I know we wanted to talk about a little bit of a couple of topics. Do you want to just kind of briefly start off with one of them?
Yeah. Well, I think we should talk about, first off, the difference between asset management and property management.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of confusion out there, especially, when you're buying an apartment complex. You could think that you're going to be the property manager. You're not.
Which is not. That's not it.
No, not at all.
Yeah, I was talking to a friend of mine, and he had mentioned, he's like, sometimes, Andrew, I love you to death, man, but I don't know what you do. Like, what is the difference? Like, I know you do property management, and I know you have yin yang asset management, but to me, I have no idea. I'm not in that world.
It's okay. My family has no idea what I do either.
Yeah, I think there's like a social media, there's like a new fad or whatever it is now, but there's now people who get together, they pour wine and they do PowerPoints on what the heck do you actually do.
Oh my gosh.
We need to have that.
We need to have that.
Yeah.
Yes.
With all our friends and family, because people are like, what is I don't know. That means you manage the property, right? I'm like, okay, it's different.
Yeah.
And so I think it's just more conversational instead of a quick snippet. What is asset management between asset and property?
Yeah, and it's a lot more involved, I think, than people consider, especially if you're new to multifamily. Because when you're looking at multifamily, you're thinking, I'm part of a team. And then what does it take to be an asset manager? I know we've talked a little bit about sometimes it ends up being whoever gets the short straw.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
we don't want that. You do not want your property being ran by someone who got the short straw.
Right.
And there's not education out there about asset management. And so that's why we're doing this. That's why we do a day in a life of the asset manager, so people can understand, what is it we do every day. I do this maybe 12 hours a day, probably a little too much.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get less time, but when you're the asset manager, you're actually the one fulfilling the business plan. And I think that people kind of get lost with that sometimes.
Yeah. No, definitely. A friend of mine had mentioned, we got to not necessarily dumb it down, but make it so easy that even a child can understand what's the difference. And I try to practice that even with my own 12-year-old, because she's like, what do you do again? Like, I don't know really what you do, but so I guess we could talk about, obviously Cyndee, the asset manager. I would love you to start us off with the difference between asset management, and then I can explain again my perspective in property management. I think that's gonna help everybody sum it up.
Yeah, that sounds good. So I am known as the asset manager, and
TAM. Your legal name on your wedding or your wedding certificate is Cyndee T.
The asset manager. So basically, what I do is I work with the property management company that we hire. So it is a third party that we hire, and they're responsible for the property. And then I report to the GPs. So sometimes I am a GP. Sometimes I'm not.
And what's a GP? Just again, we're just breaking it down.
Right. So a GP is a general partner. So that's someone that's part of the ownership.
A group of people that have come together.
So there's two groups that usually are involved in what we would consider a syndication. So you have your passive investors. So the passive investors are people that have invested money into the complex, into the asset. So, and they're investing money and they're going to get returns on that. So those are your LPs or your limited partners, and they receive what we consider mailbox money. So they get distributions every quarter, every month, however it's set up. Each property is different.
Yep.
That's one group of people. The second group of people are the GPs, and those are the general partners, and they're really considered like the managers. So they're the ones that have signed on the loan for the property. They found the deal, went through the due diligence process, making sure this is really a viable asset, that we could get the returns on it that we think. And so usually the GP is between 5 and maybe up to 10 people, not usually that high, but more 5 to 7 people. And so they have the vision for the property. So they have found it, they've looked at it, and they've said, okay, this is what we can do to get returns to our investors. And so the job of the asset manager is to gather information from the property management company and kind of oversee what's going on. So in the beginning, you meet every week with the property management company.
Yep.
And you talk with them about what's going on at the property. I always start my meetings with, tell me what's going on at the property. You know, there are numbers we're going to dig into, but I kind of want to know at the beginning of the call, the feel for what's going on at the property.
Yep.
And
checking its temperature.
Yeah. You know, are things going smooth? Are we having any troubles? Are we having, sometimes this time of year, I hear a lot about, we have a lot of air conditioning issues.
Yep.
Just,
summertime.
You know, that's summertime. You know, and then in the winter, in December, we have a lot of heaters. So, you know, I just kind of want to know in general what's happening at the property, and then we dig into the numbers. But I gather that information, and then I also meet with the GPs. So that's the ownership of the property. And so I basically relay that information to them.
Got it.
So yeah, and so they kind of know where the property is. Now they get reports as well. So I make sure that we have a good communication, so they always know what's going on. And if there's decisions to be made, it's made as a GP. I don't make the decisions myself. I'll give my recommendation, but in the end, the GPs vote and make the decision.
I say this jokingly, but it sounds like a pretty simple job. Like you're just checking up on people.
Oh, it's very simple.
Yeah, it's very. Anybody can do it, right? I'm assuming.
Well, I think if you have, I don't know that anyone could do it, but I think if you have a head for numbers, and also like if you've been a project manager or if you've been a manager, those are skills that you're going to need to be an asset manager. I kind of wish it was a different term than asset manager. I don't really know. Asset leader. I'm not exactly sure because. Or a liaison, asset liaison. I'm not sure because you're working with the property management because they have certain limitations. We can't just say, okay, we want to renovate, 25 units. Poof, it's done. That just doesn't happen that way. We have to, I require 3 bids on everything. So we've got to get bids. We have to look at the demographics. When we're buying the property in the very beginning, brokers are going to tell you, oh, you can get X number of dollars,
Yep.
if you do upgrades. And that is true. But I always trust but verify.
Yes.
I have two things: trust but verify, and then always have a paper trail. So,
when in doubt, write it out.
Yes, because we want to just make sure that we can actually to get that. But we have to navigate that with the property management and with our vacancies. It's a balancing act, I think. But I think if you have a good asset manager that understands the business plan, this is what we want to do, then they can help the property management fulfill it. And that's really, in the end, you want the fulfillment, because what does that mean? That means money to the investors.
Right.
And that's the bottom line.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
It's a business. We're doing it because we want to provide a stream of revenue for someone. It's a passive, investment to them. They're a limited partner. So, we want them to get money every month or every quarter, however we have it set up. So it is designed to be that way. It's an investment.
I think it's another conversation. We can table it, but it's definitely something where, like, asset management, to become an asset manager is not for everyone. Truthfully. I just don't think there's some people, as you said before, get the short end of the stick and they're just kind of thrown into it and they don't like it. And they're just, if you don't like something, you're not going to give its full undivided attention that it needs. Because if you think about it, if you gave me, if I said, hey, like, here's $1,000, let's say, that's a lot of money for a majority of the people. But in these situations, those LPs that you're talking about, it's not $1,000. It's probably more around $50,000 to $100,000. More likely $100,000. So think about, like, how much trust the individual is giving to you. And that's just one, and there's multiple people. So there's millions of dollars on the line. So you don't want to just have anybody who's just like, I think I will give it a run.
Right.
It's like, imagine you going into surgery and it's like, I got the short end of the stick. I'm a doctor now, and I'm just
I'll YouTube it.
Yeah, exactly. I'll YouTube university and I know what I'm doing. Like, no, you don't want. Why would you not give it the respect that it deserves?
Yeah, and the attention. And also, if you don't feel like it's a good fit for you, you're not going to be confident in what you're doing, and you're not going to do what we call manage up.
Yes.
Because manage up is very important. This is what we teach in our 12-week course, is how to manage up.
So important.
Where you're looking at ahead, what's coming up, what do we need to prepare for, so that when those things happen, we already have an answer, or at least a game plan.
Yep.
And I think that if you don't have a good head for asset management, it's just not going to work, and you can feel very overwhelmed.
Yeah, we should trademark that. Managing up.
Yes.
Managing up. It's like it's such an easy thing to do, but people don't do it. It's because we're really, at that point, we're playing chess. We're not playing checkers.
Correct.
So we're thinking ahead. We're being proactive. Hey, Cyndee, this may come up, this may not come up, but I just want to give you a heads up.
Yeah.
This is what's going on in building 23. Da 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 da. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that, Andrew. Now I have it ready to go. If something, you know what? Now that you've told me that, which I wasn't aware, let's be even more so ahead of it. Let's do this. Oh, wow, I didn't think about that. That's a great idea. Let's do that. So that's good that you brought up the managing up, because that is so important for asset.
It really is, but it helps you as an asset manager to be thinking ahead, forward thinking, and that's what we want,
right?
Because we want to anticipate for whatever.
That's risk prevention, risk management, all of that included. And it allows us to do some research beforehand. I know we have a property that we're looking where we have to replace the thermostats. So all the thermostats in the complex have mercury, I don't know, the little And so that's one of the things that we have to do, that the lender has required, is that all the thermostats be replaced. So we're trying to decide, are we going to do regular thermostats, or are we going to do smart thermostats? And so we're getting all the information together.
You know, what is the cost for each one? What can we expect would be our return on that investment? Because that is an investment within our investment. And so we want to look at that and say, you know, how long would it take us to recover the money that we're going to spend, the difference? Because we have to spend it, bottom line. We have to replace them.
The lender's requiring it.
The lender's requiring it. And so, you know, that's one of the things that the asset manager does. So when we're talking about the difference between a property manager and an asset manager, the asset manager, we're doing the research. We're looking at how much are we going to spend? How long is it going to take to get our money back? What impact is it going to have? Is it within our budget?
Well, this could even potentially make you money.
Yes.
Because you're not spending more money on energy things, whether electricity or...
Exactly.
Yeah. So it could actually make you money.
So at this property, it's all bills paid.
Yeah, that's huge. So what does that mean? What does that mean for somebody who's never...
So all bills pays means that when they move in, that what they pay is rent, one number, $1 amount, and that covers everything. Electricity, trash, water, sewer, pest, all of that is covered in the rent. And so a smart thermostat at this particular property sounds like it could really be a very useful item because the tenant knows they don't pay the electric bill.
So what are they going to do? They're going to just crank that baby up to 69, 68 degrees, leave it on all day, take off for work. That's 6, 7, 8 hours plus. So it's running, you're wasting, right? They're wasting energy, which you're paying for.
Exactly.
Right? But now with a smart thermostat, they have motion sensors. They know, hey, Cyndee's been gone for hours or for a period of time. It won't wait that long. They'll shut it down. And now that'll increase NOI.
Yeah. So we're gathering that information. That's what asset management is gathering information.
Yeah.
So we're gathering the information. We're looking to see like how much is it going to cost us versus just a regular thermostat. What is the percentage of savings that they're telling us that we could get on the electric? What is our current electric? What does that look like with the savings? It's going to probably take us, you know, some time to get everyone switched over. So, you know, we have to consider that and how much are we going to spend in the process. But I think in the end, you know, to me, that is a distinct difference between asset management and property management. Because we're going to figure that out. Then we're going to tell the property management, okay, we're going to do the thermostats, whether they're the regular thermostats or the smart. We're going to tell the property management. Then it's up to them to get that scheduled. So whether we're going to do it all at one time, or they're going to put it with maybe their pest control. So when they go in to do pest control at the same time, that's when it's going to be switched out. You know, somehow they schedule it. And but that's the difference because property management, they're in charge of actually doing that.
Right. The day-to-day, I call it the busy work. That's so we'll segue into that. So obviously from a property management perspective, I or other property managers will be running the day-to-day of like getting the units ready. That's the turn, or help marketing it, showing the units, taking care of maintenance requests, toilets, pest control, termites, we call it, trash. So the difference is, again, asset management, you're definitely playing chess because you're thinking 1, 2, 3, 5 steps ahead. And then property management, we're kind of following the direction of the asset manager where we're running the day-to-day, but we know that the asset manager, such as yourself, would be like, hey, Andrew, I like what you're doing, but can we maybe look a little tweak here? And you're like, we kind of veer off. We get back to our North Star. And then we're running things. How's everything going? And we tell you, no, let's tweak back a little bit. So you're constantly keeping us on the train rails, I guess, to make sure we're moving in the positive right direction. Right. And so, but it's a partnership. It really is, because at the end of the day, are you in every single state that your properties are in?
No, I am not.
Exactly. You manage multiple properties in multiple states.
Yes.
So that is something that an asset manager could do. So when you have properties in different states, there's different municipalities, different rules, and so you want to work with your property manager to understand the culture, to understand what's allowed, what's not allowed, what's, I guess you could say what's normal in that area. Like we don't normally do that. Oh, we do this. Okay, great. Well, I've never had that situation.
Right.
So it is a partnership.
Yeah.
For sure.
And you want to have that because you want their feedback.
Yes. Absolutely.
You know, we're not always right.
We're all hesitant. Wait, so what do you mean? We're not always right?
We're not always right. No. Yeah, I can even one of the marketing strategies that we use is pick your neighbor, refer a friend.
Yeah.
And so we were using it at a property, and the property management said we should offer this dollar amount for the referral. So if someone's living there and they refer someone and they come in and they sign the lease and they move in, then that resident would get credit toward their rent, you know, dollar amount.
A dollar amount. So that could be, and it's not necessarily something, I know the underwriters are like, oh my gosh, how much are you spending? Thousands of dollars. It doesn't have to be thousands of dollars.
No, and we usually do it where there's stipulations, you know, they have to pay their rent on time. I mean, you know, we're not giving the money away, but it's a lot of people like it because they like where they live.
Right.
And it's their community, so they want their friends there.
Yeah.
But the property management said we need to offer $250 for a referral.
Yep, I do the same.
And I was like, oh no, that's way too much money.
Yeah.
We can't do $250.
Mm-hmm.
I said, we can do $100.
Okay.
And so they're like, okay, that's fine. Because, you know, I'm giving them direction. And we did not get any referrals.
They're like $100. You know what year this is?
I know.
That's like going to McDonald's and I'm getting a couple of stuff for my family. I spent $50, $60 at Raising Cane's the other day. So $100 is not much. But it's okay. You tried it.
Yeah, we tried it. And, you know, after 30 days, we didn't have any referrals. And I went back to the property management. And because we do have a partnership, you know, it was easy for me to say, you know, I'm sorry, I didn't listen to you.
Yeah.
You know the demographics. You know what's the norm.
Right.
See, that's the norm. 250 is the norm.
Right. Yeah.
And to me, that just seemed like so much money. I just couldn't wrap my head around it.
Mm-hmm.
But now, a lot of times when we're going to do anything we do, I will always say, you know, what do you think this will work for this demographics? Because I have properties that are, you know, class Bs. I have properties that are class Cs. I have properties that are a low income.
Mm-hmm.
So what works at one doesn't work at another.
Right.
And they're not all the same property management company.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's really important to talk with them to find out like what does work for your area.
The thing that I would challenge my teams, the different teams that I would work with, and I was like, okay, I would say the same thing. What do you guys think? And you know me, I'm all about inside out coaching. So I would say, what do you think is a good number for a referral bonus? And some of them would say $50, $100. We tried out, same thing. Nothing came out of it. So I said, okay, what about a $250? And they would come, that's so much. I said, that's fine. Do me a favor, go to your availability report and look at your vacancy loss.
Oh, I hate looking at that number.
Right?
It is gut wrenching.
It's so disturbing to see, oh my gosh, we are losing thousands and thousands of dollars. So is it worth it to us to pay somebody $250, even if they referred 4 people, now we have 4 people moved in that's paying rent, then we would have spent $1,000. Now, does that justify to pay Cyndee, or say, you know, renter Cyndee, $1,000? Now they just found us 4 people were paying $1,500, $2,000 a month in rent, right? We're gonna make that up so quick, and we just rented 4 units that have been vacant, and we've already lost probably $4,000, $5,000 in rent. Right? So I always try to help them understand, like, okay, well, I understand $250 may sound like a lot, but you do the math. How much have we lost in vacancy? Like, oh my gosh, we're like $9,000. Yeah, exactly. And it's only that number only gets bigger every single day. So that's one of the things that, it's good that you reach out to your property management company, ask them for feedback, because maybe those residents don't necessarily need $250. Maybe they're happy with $100, and you would have given away more than you needed to. That's like a negotiating tactic, right? So it's like, no, we had it before, and there was $100, and they loved it. Okay, great. In your head, you're already thinking, well, shoot, I was willing to do $250, but if they're okay with $100, then go with what your property management says.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's the main difference is property management is your boots on the ground. They're there every day. They're the ones that deal with the tenants. And
checking
asset management, we're trying to navigate the whole business plan and look ahead.
Yeah.
Manage up.
Chess players, checker players.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's fair to say that. And like, obviously what we talk about it in our class, but managing up and ultimately helping your property managers think for themselves, give them empowerment to understand like, hey, let me share with you some insight of how I would do this or some thoughts, because at the end of the day, by doing that, you're kind of teaching them how to fish. You're not always giving them the fish.
Yes.
And so it's only going to make asset managers' life that much better because you're not in the day-to-day decisions. Because what's going to happen is if you start giving them the fish, now you're just constantly giving them the fish and you're not teaching them how to fish.
Correct.
And so they're just going to be your phone. You say you work 12 hours, that could be 16, 18 hours a day because they're constantly, Cyndee, what do you want to do? Cyndee, what do you want to do? Cyndee, what do you want to do? It's like, okay, well, that's where inside out coaching is. Well, what do you think is a good idea? And then they start to build that confidence and they put that brick down. Then they have another brick. And then next thing you know, they have so many bricks, they have a foundation to work off of. And now they're successful. Now they can start implementing things like, hey, you know what? WWCD. What would Cyndee do? And I would joke around with them about that, but like WWAD, like I'm not him, but I would say like, just if you think about it, you're going to come to me at some point. I'm going to ask you, hey, how did you come to that conclusion? Or, hey, person that you work with me, how did you come to that answer? And if they could speak truthfully, and I could see they're speaking from the heart, like, hey, I gave it a lot of thought. I thought about this. I thought about that. What else could I ask for? Like I tell people, you're not going to kill anybody. You're not going to hurt anybody, right? If you go with your heart and you really mean it and you feel it's in the best interest of the business and it's justified, I want you to do that. I'm teaching you how to become a leader. So that way one day you can take over for me at that property management position and then I can move on to my next role. So that's why we teach leadership in our classes, because we're ultimately coaching and teaching the next leaders, whether that's asset management, and that's why we're teaching in our class, or as a property manager, I'm teaching my leasing consultants, my leasing administrators, I'm teaching my assistant managers to all grow in their role so they can become the next role.
Right.
And so that's I'm glad we got to chat with it, because I know a lot of people ask, what is the difference between asset management? So hopefully after this podcast, you have a better understanding of the difference between Cyndee's asset management compared to what I do as a property manager. You can explain it at cocktail hour with your friends now,
yes,
if you
exactly.
want to. And then at some point, if you're watching this and you're kind of, I think there's a lot of people who watch this and like, what is asset management? Is this right fit for me? We're going to talk about that later on another, like what makes a good asset manager and what are some qualifications of it. But I'm glad we got to.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
hopefully that gave you guys some clarity on the difference between property management and asset management. Yeah, and if you're interested, go to our website.
Yes, go to our website, www.yang assetmanagement.com. We're revamping everything. We obviously have some pretty cool stuff on the podcast, so definitely take a look, give us some feedback. We'd love to see you in class next time. All right.
See you in class.
See you in class.